this year. I've also noticed something. For the first time in this entire dynasty, stuff is leaking out of New England by the current coaching regime about players about to be drafted. Why would that be? We never have any idea who they're going to draft. Second time a story about Lamar Jackson leaked, this time to Chris Mortensen. Why? Because of all the quarterback prospects out there, Lamar Jackson is the one that Tom Brady and the players around the NFL like because he's an exhilarating talent. He's the most fun to watch. Suddenly now, stuff's leaking out that Belichick really likes him. Why? Trying to close that gap that he has lost with the players. Nothing ever leaks out about drafting. There has never been a team this covert. Suddenly in a week, Gronk's not attending. Brady's not attending initially. Players calling out Bill, going to social media. Suddenly stuff leaking out about a young quarterback in college who the players love. And Belichick's apparently talking freely for the first time ever about that. I was wrong. Big wrong. Let me talk about LeBron for a second. You know I'm a big fan of LeBron. But something has happened this year, and it's never worked this way. I've said before, the most amazing stat about LeBron James of my life is not an NBA stat, and he didn't play in college. It's a high school stat. And I want you to think about this if you're driving around the country or watching today. LeBron James averaged 28 points a game as a junior in high school. LeBron James could have easily as a senior, averaged 50. But his senior year in high school, he only averaged 1 point more. Why? Because LeBron's never been into stats. Never has been. Never really been about points. But this year's been different. And I like LeBron. But he has made a point to brag and pat himself on the back about stats. And, of course, there is a reason he is doing this. Because he knows the season's going to end poorly. What's happening this season and how it's going to end is how last season ended. He won't win the MVP, and he will get throttled in the finals or somewhere in the playoffs. We know this about LeBron James. The ejector seat is in his DNA. That's why all year he's either been bragging or, after the game one loss, humble bragging. Listen to this.
This is the first time you've been in this situation, down 0-1 in the first round. How do you react to that?
Is it? So I've never lost a game one in the first round before in my career?
Really caught him off guard. He didn't know that. Really? Of course he knew it. But he wanted to reestablish, I've never lost a game in the first round. This is the anti-LeBron, the antithesis of his entire belief system in basketball, which is elevating everybody and himself, not just himself. In fact, LeBron, I'm told now, sees himself at this point in his career as above the league. Player, personality, brand above the league. Doesn't even like practice. We went to the Cavs practice, if you can call it that, Friday. Here's a reporter, Joe Varden, about it.
This team does not practice, period. They don't practice. They don't. And actually, the records show, like, the less they practice, the better they do. And if they do practice, LeBron often sits on the side with ice and just kind of relaxing. So they take care of him.
They don't practice. LeBron sees it as an irritant, an annoyance at this point in his career. So my point is this. When I watched LeBron mail it in yesterday, and there was no energy and no urgency, it doesn't mean they're going to lose to the Pacers. But I know this about LeBron. He sends messages. He's been doing it for 15 years. And the other thing I know is he doesn't like to be trapped. He felt it in Cleveland, ejector seat. He felt the roster in Miami, Pat Riley coming down, ejector seat. This Cavs roster for the next 2 years can't change. These contracts are locked in. When they beat the Pacers, and I suspect they'll start shooting threes better in Game 2 and will, he sees the young Sixers. He sees the Celtics getting healthier in 6 months. It just confirms that lack of energy and that lack of urgency I saw yesterday. He's feeling trapped, and he's going to move again. Veteran newsman John Goulet.
No. Heard on the news. This is the Herdline News.
So, Colin, the Warriors took Game 1 of their series against the Spurs, 113-92. They finally looked like the Warriors again, who we hadn't seen seemingly in a few weeks.
By the way, annoyance is a word, not annoyant. That was my bad. Go ahead.
We'll double-check on Webster's for that one. So Draymond Green, who always seems to find a camera and has something to say, wants to remind everyone the Warriors are still a championship team.
Yeah.
And we're a championship ball club. You know, we know what it takes this time of year in order to win. And you know, we want to get back to that regardless of what everyone's saying. The Warriors lost it. They're not together. They can't win without Steph. They're not the same team. Blase, 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 blah, blah, blah. You know, I think a lot of people have tended to forgot what we're capable of. We know, and we're going to show that.
After watching them on Saturday, do you feel a little more confident that they're going to make it to the finals or at least not have an issue until they face the Rockets?
Two things that are amazing. I mean, listen, there's always been a flip the switch thing, but it wasn't that they won. They were really efficient. Yeah. And they have been inefficient since Steph got hurt. So they clearly flipped some switch offensively. And the second thing is, Kawhi Leonard's not even with the Spurs. It's one thing not playing. He's not with the team. I mean, can we just acknowledge this now? Kawhi Leonard's not going to be a Spur.
Well, actually, that is a perfect transition. You must be a professional broadcaster.
What happened?
Because we have talked a lot about Kawhi Leonard and his issues with the Spurs, and according to reports, Kawhi Leonard not going to return in the playoffs, which very well might only be 3 more games anyway. This was Greg Popovich being asked about Kawhi's health and after the Spurs lost to the Warriors Saturday afternoon.
You'll have to ask Kawhi and his group that question.
Oh, boy.
You know, so far they say that he's not ready to go. So we can't do anything until that happens. Then we would have to decide what's going on from there. But that's the first, thing that has to happen. He's rehabbing right now in New York, trying to get healthy.
So the question you basically just answered: are we done seeing Kawhi as a Spur?
Listen, every athlete needs to be treated differently. You can yell at some, you can't yell at others. You got to put your arm around some. You got to. Others, you really push and push and push. Doug Collins coached Michael Jordan, and he kept pushing him and pushing him, and Michael finally had him fired, and Phil Jackson put his arm around him a little bit. And Kawhi Leonard is not the kind of guy that you can leak stories on, and it falls perfectly. I don't think he trusts Popovich. I don't think he trusts the trainers. I don't think he trusts the owners. I don't think he trusts his teammates. Him not being there on the bench, like there's a separation here. There's a gulf. Good luck healing it. He's not a verbal guy. You don't sit down, open a bottle of bourbon, and sit around for 6 hours with Kawhi and tell old Spurs stories and warm his heart. It's like, that's not who he is. I think this is irreparable.
And finally, there's been a lot of talk about the Patriots' interest in Lamar Jackson, or at least some kind of young quarterback to groom behind Tom Brady. Right now, their backup is Brian Hoyer, who might even be older than Brady is.
Yeah.
But Belichick doesn't really believe in drafting for need. Here's what he said.
Well, again, the whole draft need thing is, I don't really understand that. I mean, you put a card up on the board, that doesn't mean the guy's a good player. So I think it's important to acquire good players wherever they are. And if you take a player at a position that you like so-called need, but he's not good enough to fill that need, then it's a wasted pick. So I don't understand the whole need thing. I understand player value, and that's what we try to go by.
But let me ask you this. So I get what he's saying, but let's say you really, really, really need a pass rusher, which New England rusher. and you have a guy 40th on your board, and you're drafting, you have the 32nd pick, and there is a player that you don't need, but you have him as the 37th best value, and the pass rusher is 40th or 41st. Can't you move him up for need? My point is, nobody's saying that you pass on a great player. Nobody's saying that. But what for need? But what happens when your need is extreme and the players are close and the need is really important, like, quarterback or pass rusher or left tackle or corner?
He's a value guy. I mean, that's why they've always taken quarterbacks in the past, right? If they had that as the best player available, even though they had Tom Brady, they would just take a quarterback. He doesn't care.
I don't know. You know what they need? They need a pass rusher. So if there's one out there and he's good, I don't know. I don't, like, you can't tell me need isn't something. The Dallas Cowboys have a really good team. They need a down lineman and they need a safety. They got 10 picks. They need, even if it's not the world's greatest safety class, they got to draft one. They got to get somebody on campus. Veteran newsman John Goulet.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
17 years in the NBA. Rockets, Lakers for 6, Pacers. He knows all about Indy. Meta World Peace joining the show. You know he's going to pump up Indy. He's feeling great about it. By the way, I remember your Indy years very fondly. Now, you had some blow-ups. You were a younger player. You were full of emotion. Everybody can talk about Malice Palace, but I remember your Indiana days very fondly.
Yes.
You were. By the way, your career's been interesting because some teams have needed you to score more.
Yeah.
The Lakers did not need you to score. When I say Pacers to you, do you have love in your heart for them?
I love the Pacers because it's where I played my best. It's where I got Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
It's where I finished 6th in MVP voting.
Yes.
It's where I had the brawl. It's where I averaged 20 plus.
You were full of energy.
I'm really happy to have an opportunity to be a great player at one time in my career.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I think of, that was Ron. When I think of you with the Pacers, I think of really, really special player. So I don't have the Malice in the Palace to me, which I said from day one when it happened. I was at the other network. I blame the fans more than the players. People were throwing stuff at you.
Yeah.
I think of your Indiana days. Now, what do you make of their win yesterday?
I mean, I think it's great. I think that it's an even match. Like Cleveland's clearly not going to win, or Indiana's clearly not going to win.
The finals.
It's a toss-up this round.
So to you, this isn't LeBron's team here and the Pacers down here.
No, it's an evenly matched team. Anybody can win this.
Because the personnel's pretty even?
I think not the personnel, but in terms of like how they play and the things that they do well, the things that they're flawed in. It's like evenly matched. They both do things good and they both do things bad.
Well, I mean, let's be honest about LeBron's team right now. It's LeBron. Kevin Love's very good. They don't have a third best player. They don't. They don't have a third guy.
You always need that third guy, and then you need a strong bench. You look at Houston there. It's not like James Harden's show. It's the Houston Rockets show. I mean, you got Nene coming off the bench. You have Gerald Green, who is still very athletic, Joe Johnson, and, you got a great team.
Yeah, they go 8 deep. Okay, so here's the thing. A lot of great players in the NBA. Magic was a great player who was easy to play with. So was Bill Russell.
Right.
Wilt Chamberlain wasn't. Iverson was Noah's. Westbrook's not. Victor Oladipo leaves Westbrook. He explodes as a player.
Yeah.
He's an all-star.
Yeah.
Paul George, by the way, in the 9 minutes yesterday that Westbrook was sitting on the bench,
right.
Paul scored 16 points in 9 minutes.
Yeah.
I like Westbrook, but can't we acknowledge Victor Oladipo felt suffocated?
It's true. They call it stunting your growth, and it can happen with players because this is a star-driven league. So if you get one player getting the max and he's the face of the franchise, and another really good player can potentially suffer. And when that player suffers, it can mess with your contract.
Your
it can mess with
confidence.
a lot of things, your confidence, and it happens a lot. So that's one thing that could probably change about the NBA. I think the Spurs is good. The Spurs is in like the opposite direction. It's a team game in San Antonio. The Warriors, it's a team game. You know, and
but Oklahoma City is Russell's team.
It's definitely Russell's team, but can Russell adjust and adapt to like a pass move type of team, you know, and not everybody can play like that.
By the way, in Houston, weren't you averaging 20 a game in the playoffs?
Yeah, when I came from Houston, I was averaging 22 in the playoffs, and then when I came to LA, I was averaging 11. So for me,
did it mess with your head?
Well, it didn't mess with my head. It messed with my earnings, because if a team says, "Hey, you're not worth what you should get," you know, I'm like, I am, but I'm just not getting the opportunities, right?
Right. No, when you came to Los Angeles, Kobe was in his prime, and Pau Gasol was in his prime.
You know, Kobe was in his prime, Powell was in his prime, Fisher was amazing, Lamar was amazing, Powell was amazing. So, and you can see, like Paul George, when Westbrook left the floor, he's a better player. He's back
to an all-star.
Back to an all-star.
Yeah. So I watched the rookies this weekend, and my theory is Donovan Mitchell's going to be a great player, and Jason Tatum's going to be a great player, but Ben Simmons is going to change the league. When I watch Ben Simmons, I'm like, that's a little magic. I'm sorry.
Good.
It's okay. Thank you. What blows you away about this 20-year-old?
I love the fact that he can move fast. He can think while he's moving. He can think while being fatigued. He controls the game. He makes the easy pass and the great pass. Great momentum. He's so good.
He's strong.
Very, very strong. And that's a difference between him and a lot of other young players. Him and LeBron. He reminds me a lot of LeBron more than Magic.
Why?
I mean, one, because I came up watching LeBron more than Magic, but then two, the stuff that he's doing at an early age, and maybe a little bit of Magic, because Magic won a ring at his rookie year, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, maybe a little bit of LeBron and Magic.
You know, here's the thing. Everybody loves points. I mean, that's just the way the NBA is.
Which sucks, by the way.
Okay, so this is my thing. Magic's career average was 19.
Right.
Listen, Dominique Wilkins, I can go through players who averaged. George Gervin, as a kid growing up, averaged 33. I don't remember him in the playoffs.
Right.
In the NBA, Bruce Bowen could have dropped 19 a game, and he was
probably not
close. He could shoot a little bit.
Bruce was a good shooter. I don't think he would have averaged 19. That's not a good choice.
But Ben Simmons, to me, could average 18 in his career. I think he'll average more than that because the possessions are up. But I think he is as good as Jason Tatum is.
Yeah.
I think he's different.
And you know what? Now, he notices that. Like, if Ben Simmons starts to shoot and become a high volume shooter, does that make his team better?
No.
Maybe not. And he knows that. That's what's real impressive. And like when I played at times, I was more worried about deflections and boxing out and hustling and work. And that made my team better, you know? And I think Ben Simmons gets it.
When Cleveland mailed that in yesterday, they had really bad energy. I don't care they lost because in the 3-ball league, there's blowout losses all the time.
Right.
But Cleveland didn't have a ton of energy. Has LeBron checked out?
LeBron has not checked out. He had a triple-double, and LeBron is too much at risk for LeBron to check out. Let's just talk about his stats. If he checks out, he could potentially not be the all-time leading scorer or something by 2 points. Like, he doesn't have time to check out. He's towards the end of his career. He has to stay locked in.
Meta, great seeing you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Meta, world peace. Coming up, I like this player in the NFL. I like him more after what I'm reading this morning. That's coming up. Baseball's back. Hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs are here. Yes, it is time now, and the hardest time of the year to get good seats. That's where the SeatGeek app comes in. I've got it in my phone. Takes 2 taps. They have concert tickets. They have comedy tickets. They have theater tickets. They're probably most known for sports tickets. If you download the SeatGeek app, and it takes just 2 taps, you enter the promo code HERD, and that gets you $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. It's a perfect gift as well. Listen, this is the time of the year when the tickets you buy, it's the most expensive and the hardest time to get great seats. The SeatGeek app, 2 taps. The code is HERD, H-E-R-D, $20 off. They search ticket sites for you, they compare prices for you, and find the deals at SeatGeek for you.
You're a brave